But I want to go across right now, live to Toronto. Joining us from there is author, economist Shankar Iyer. Shankar, welcome. You've been writing a lot about what the government should do. What are you making of what's been done so far?
Well, I'm waiting for them to do it, Rahul. Then only one can write about it. So the packages that have been announced and the packages that is the Prime Minister announced and the package that has been released have quite a bit of variance. I think the bureaucracy and the ministries have taken or misinterpreted the Prime Minister's statement of Atmanirbharta and left people on their own. I mean, the first part of the package, everything is, don't get me wrong, all of that needed to be done. The moratorium on loans, the MSME package, the idea of fund of funds for investment in MSMEs, all of this is necessary. But, you know, there is such a thing as immediate relief and then near term. So all of the steps that were taken by the government in its first tranche were more about preventing mass bankruptcies. So I don't think we can call them stimulus package. Necessary, yes. Sufficient, no. But the cruelty of the system is revealed in today's PowerPoint. You read the first three items. Here are farmers who have suffered from income losses because of the lockdown. They couldn't sell their produce or they couldn't get their imports or whatever. What are the first three things on the PowerPoint? The first is that they have given credit, more agricultural loans to farmers in the last 3 months. In the sense they have allowed moratorium on repayment. The second item is that they have extended the scheme for prompt repayment of loan. So the first item is a moratorium. The second item is a scheme.
So what's your objection?
There's no objection. This is not relief, Rahul. If the farmers are being given an extension on the repayment of loan, that is not a
No, but this is in keeping, Shankar, with the Prime Minister's idea that there should be no dole-outs, no handouts, that you make people more productive, enable them to stand on their own feet, rather than get them used to just handouts from the government.
Rahul, either we know something better or the rest of the world is stupid. The only thing unique about India is its map. Nothing else is unique. There are people who are suffering. There is a system, a sequence to be followed in providing relief. And I'm not disputing the fact that you should not have moral hazards. But when we speak about moral hazards, we should not be convinced only about giving relief to AAA companies and not to farmers and migrant laborers. They have announced today one nation, one ration card. I think this has been announced at least 3 times before. Now, this is an idea that they should have announced on the day of the lockdown. So I'm not saying that the Prime Minister is not concerned. I'm saying the systemic sloth. The system is cruel to its own people. So the system has to think better.
The government's logic to that, or the counter to what you're saying, could be that we are not Germany, we're not Japan, we're not the United States. You have to look at where we are in our economic cycle. You have to look at our per capita income. You have to look at government finances. And whatever package, and especially a direct transfer that the government can organize, has to be calibrated with its resources.
Fair enough. So here's the thing. What are the resources with the government? The government has over 75 million tons of food grains. Did it have to announce buy one, get one free package in the first tranche and now belatedly say, okay, we will give you 10 kilos or whatever of grains, whether you have a ration card or not? The one nation, one card thing could have been done earlier. You know, you could have allowed portability of ration card for the migrant labor so they had some food to eat. The question is not about what you don't have, but what you have. The issue is that if the government wants to do this, then the system has to be a little more alert, a little more sensitive to the issues that they are dealing with. When a farmer has no income, there is no point in giving him a subvention scheme which allows or a discount on early or prompt repayment. That is cruel.
Where would they finance the kind of stimulus that you're suggesting or the kind of handouts that you're suggesting, given the current state of our economy, given the fact that GST collections are down? How would they mobilize funds for a program of this nature?
Rahul, what does an ordinary household do when they run out of money? They pledge the family silver. This is the government which owns over 30,000 crores of L&T. They own shares in a tobacco company. They own shares in a bank. They own shares, all of this private. The Sutti package, which would be about 30 to 40,000 crores, or even if it's less, it's money that is on hand. The government could list LIC in, as it had announced 10%.
It won't get a good rate. Is this the time? Come on, Shankar. Is this the right time to list LIC? Who will want to come and what kind of valuation would you get?
Rahul, that's a very lame excuse that provided by the government for years now, for the last 5-6 years. The net present value of what you get now is better than what you imagine you will get. So LIC's intrinsic value may get discounted by 5-10%, but the money that you get in hand will be far more valuable than what you imagine you will get after 5 years or 7 years. You know, they didn't sell the public sector banks. They issued licenses to private sector banks.
Okay.
They could have easily sold the weaker public sector banks to private sector. The total market cap of PSU shares, Rahul, is 10 lakh crore. Why not take the whole thing, put it in an investment trust, and issue bonds to sovereign funds, to pension funds abroad who are looking for long-term paper?
Okay.
You could raise easily 1 lakh crore from it.
So, always interesting to hear from Shankar Iyer. Strong, passionate views, strongly articulated. Thank you very much, Shankar, for joining us. We've heard so far from Sanjeev Sanyal, we've heard from Prakash Javadekar, we'll be hearing later from Ravi Shankar Prasad. But when we come back from a quick break, Rajdeep Sardesai will join me and we'll have P. Chidambaram, former finance minister, joining us. Rajdeep, that should be a good conversation.
That's right. I think Mr. Chidambaram has his reservations, but a lot of what he's been saying has been done by the government. So it's not going to be easy for him to criticize, perhaps particularly what's been done today by the finance minister. So it'll be interesting whether he plays the role of an opposition leader or the role of a finance minister today.
P. Chidambaram, heavyweight Congress leader, joining us, one of our finest economic minds. Let's listen to what he has to say when we come back on the other side of a quick break.